Welcome back to all our friends, family, and yes, even our foes, to the Foxx Den Sports Podcast, where Todd and his sports-passionate kids are ready to bring you the latest updates and insights on all things sports. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, here are your hosts, Kellen, Garrett, Gannon, and coming to you from the Foxx Den, their dad, Todd Foxx.
Boomer Sooner, and welcome back to the Foxx Den Sports Podcast. Along with two of my sons, Kellen and Garrett. I'm Todd Foxx. Looks like I see Garrett. Yep, it is Garrett. He is back. My goodness. He was missed last week, but he is back on this Victory Monday. It is a Victory Monday. No. The Sooners did not play this past weekend, but the Dallas Cowboys played last night, and it's a Victory Monday. So here we go. Here's some things we're going to talk about today. Obviously, the big things are we get some comments we want to go over with everybody, but also OU Texas game and what kind of standout players have to step up. Who's got to step up in order for OU to be successful this week? The first year Oklahoma and Texas Red River Rivalry game being in the SEC, does that add any little bit of excitement to this game? And then also we've got some questions at the end, my fun questions that I like to ask that are always fun. So stick around for that. But jumping into it, we do have some comments. And one of them being, what was it here? Recently, it just happened. I'm sorry. It is the biggest question is going to be, can OU's offense score? Can they move the ball? Can they score effectively and somehow with some touchdowns and field goals? Otherwise, they'll stand no chance. The defense is good and improving, but they can't count on holding Texas all day. What are your all's comments on that?
I would say, he's got a point with the scoring, obviously, but like field goals don't win this game ever. So you can't get into the red zone and then end up having to kick a field goal. Like you've got to put 6 or 7 on the board. I think our offense can move the ball and has the potential to. Obviously, it's a matter of does Latrell have some things up his sleeve that might surprise him a little bit and confuse the defense, and can Michael Hawkins avoid mistakes like he did against Auburn? Again, we barely won, and yet we still had no turnovers. So
right.
We have to keep that, because the second you put our defense, like you mentioned, in plus territory with Texas, that's a tough ask for any defense.
Any thoughts, Kellen?
I think we can score. We just got to have the confidence to get out there and do it. I think we have to establish a strong run game. We've got good running backs back there. We have to get that established. But I do think our defense is going to put us in some good positions to score. And unlike the Tennessee game, I think we will capitalize on those. Was there only one turnover in the Auburn game, the pick six? I don't remember the defense putting us in a position that game. I think this game will be different. They'll put us in a spot for our offense to get going. Once we get the offense rolling, on whether it's because of the defense or just a good drive, and once we get that run game going, I think just the team as a whole will be rolling, and I think we can definitely score.
Okay.
Also, don't think this offense is anything like that much better, if any better, than Tennessee's. And our defense played phenomenal against Tennessee, in my opinion. I know they put 26, 26 on us, but that's also, again, offense turning it over 3 times. So, I think if we hold Texas to sub 30, 25-30, which I know we can, I think it bodes well for us.
That question was from David Rogers here in the Oklahoma City area. And the next one comes from Dale Pence. He asked, why does OU seem to always recruit better in Texas than even Texas does? Why do you think that is? Why do you think Oklahoma seems to always recruit a little bit better? I've got some thoughts if you want me to go over mine first, or you guys go over yours.
Have at it.
All right. Well, I mean, one thing, I think OU's been better lately. I think that has a lot to do with it. If you look at the recent memory, OU has been much better than Texas, and that's where a lot of kids will want to go. They want to play professional football. They want to go where they think they can have a shot. But at the same time, I also think that it's just been a history. Like, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I mean, Texas was one of the last schools to get in on the African American player back in the day, and Barry Switzer was one of the first, and Chuck Fairbanks one of the first ones to recruit. And I think that's just been something that's always been there. There's a ton of schools in Texas, and Oklahoma's a great program and is close by Texas, so it's near, so they can they want to come to a different place, maybe get out of the same state or same area, and they come to Oklahoma. That's just some quick shots that I thought of.
I think it's definitely a part of Oklahoma just being much more dominant over the last, 2 decades. I know Texas won a Super Bowl or a championship in there, but overall, we've definitely dominated that. So in Texas, that's a large state. So to have any team try and keep all that talent is, tough ask. They compete with A&M, which has dominated them on the recruiting trail as well in state. But Oklahoma, I think we've done better about just getting the quality players in quantity as well, rather than Texas in the past. They've gotten plenty of 5-stars. Again, haven't turned into anything until last couple of years, but I think they always, tried to get the home run, and then they just never got it. So
I haven't got the coach in the last several years, to your point. Yeah. Kellen?
I was going to talk about like coaching, because I think if you look at over the last 25 years at least, we've had the better coach. Stoops, Lincoln Riley, like they were dealing with coaching issues after Mac Brown was gone. Nobody was any good until now. Now they finally they do have a solid coach now, it seems. So
I agree.
But I think coaching played into it, and I just think, like you guys said, we've been more dominant in the last 25 years. No matter how the series goes, we've always been more relevant for the most part. And like even any year they were good, we were also good. They had Colt McCoy, we had Sam Bradford. Like it was I say until recently, but like just really until the last 2 or 3 years, like we've been better on paper. Like the last few years, it's been different. Still beat them last year, but like it's just for the most part, we've been more dominant, better coaching, better school.
Oh yeah,
better program.
Much better program, and I know they beat us. They beat us pretty soundly a couple years ago. But that game would have been completely different if Dylan Gabriel would have played. I'm not saying we would have won, but we would have not have been shut out, and we would have had more possession than we did, so they wouldn't have put up 49. But yeah, they haven't had any good coaches at all, and they do have a good coach now. Sarkisian's a very good coach, unfortunately, but I think he's got Texas humming right now, and we'll see them the number 1 ranked team, and this is going to be a huge game for us. Huge game for us. Like, what are you expecting? Like, what are you looking forward to? But the main point I guess I want to talk to is then, like, what players, like, who do you feel like has to step up? I know it's easy to say everybody's got to step up, but like, what are a couple key players that have got to be able to help control this game? What are your thoughts?
I think multiple would probably be on defense, that is. I think Billy Bowman for sure needs to continue to – I know you don't like him, but he's ranked as a top 3 safety in the country headed into the draft for a reason.
I don't dislike him. I just don't think he's as high up.
But it's not because of his pass defense. It's because of his run defense mainly. So continue on the run defense, but at the same time, continue to force turnovers. So, he's one of the best in the country at that, and I think he'll continue. Obviously, I think we'll get the same production of Stutzman week in, week out. I think R. Mason Thomas, this offensive line Texas has is probably, if not the best offensive line in the country. So
Yeah.
have to pressure them, but at the same time, not just late game like we have been. Like, we've got to continue it throughout the entire game. I think Kip Lewis has been coming on really strong this year. I'm really excited to see what he can turn into, not just this game, but throughout his career. And then offensively, outside of the obvious of Hawkins, I think you got to ask for whoever's playing at running back. I don't know if it's going to be Sawchuk. I don't know if it's going to be Barnes. I don't know if it's going to be Tatum, but whoever it is has to make at least that first man miss. Like, no negative yards, couple yards here and there, 15 yards every so often. Like, you just have to continue to try and wear out that defense. And then, I mean, Sharp, I think we're going to have to utilize Sharp a lot because our receiver core is still going to be pretty depleted. And he's a big weapon. And he's also, I mean, he's big, but he's really good with the ball in his hands too, at making a couple guys miss or at least running over them. So really focusing on getting him into open windows to be able to get him the ball, because our receivers aren't going to get anything. That's for sure.
Right. Kellen, what are your thoughts?
I mean, first, I want Stutzman going. I want him fired up like last year. I want him to give a nice pregame speech. If he would have said all those things to me, I would have felt like I could do anything. Like that dude can fire you up. But I think the biggest thing will be our, like, multiple players, but our O-line and our D-line. I think if our O-line gives Hawkins time, creates space and holes for the running backs, I think that'll make all the difference in the world for Hawkins. I think if our D-line puts some pressure on Quinn, stops the run game, limits the run game, I just don't see how we could lose if both of those lines are just killing it out there.
I agree 100%. I mean, you kind of stole a little bit of my thunder. I was going to start with the defensive line first. I think if we can stop the run, if we can get the Dominic Williams, we can get even David Stone were to play. If we could get Jaden Jackson, if we could, who else? Our Mason Thomas, and then Ethan Downs. Like, they got to be able to control a lot of that game. If we can stop the run and make Quinn Ewers have to throw, he's going to make mistakes. Regardless if he's coming back from injury or not, he's still going to make some mistakes. I like him. I think he's a good quarterback, but he gets a little bit excited, I think, at times, and tries to make some throws that he shouldn't be making. And I think he's going to make at least one, most likely two mistakes. Whether it's he could fumble the football when a sack occurs, but we've got to be able to stop the run with those guys for sure. And then if it does get up in the air, man, like you just said, the Bowmans, hopefully Woody Washington has a good game as well. And then to your point, I mean, the offensive line for sure. But I'm saying Michael Hawkins, this is his time to shine. If he can be, I don't want to say relaxed, but as much relaxed as you possibly can, excuse me, as a freshman quarterback, we've got a shot. Limit the turnovers, be able to get, hopefully some separation within the receiving core, which that's going to be interesting. But that's the biggest thing I have. I don't know if I can go over like Texas's offense is ranked 7th overall, averaging 513 yards a game. Then the number 10 best passing offense, averaging 322 and 39th in rushing. They only let's see here. They're 7th in points. They average 45 points a game. They're going up against a defense of Oklahoma. It's 42nd ranked overall. They give up 324 a game. We're ranked 75th in passing, 27th in rushing, and 19th in points, giving up 16. So, and then I can go real quick on the Oklahoma offense is ranked 121st overall, which is pretty sad out of however many teams. I want to say there's like 134, 135 total teams, and we're one of the worst in the country. Usually it's flipped. The defense is a bit worse and the offense is best. We're ranked 118th in pass, 100th in rushing, and only scoring 29 points a game, which is 70th. Texas has the number 3 ranked defense, 2nd in passing, 30th in rushing and number 2 in points. I'm getting up 7 points a game. So to your point, Gary, you said a minute ago, it's kind of like Tennessee. That's how we ran into Tennessee, and we fared fairly well with them. If it wasn't for those turnovers, it could have been a different game. And I know a lot of people think that if Hawkins had played all year and had played all game that game, then it would have been a different story. Perhaps, but regardless, it's going to be – Oklahoma's going to definitely have a lot to get done in order to win this game. What are your all's thoughts? Those rankings, Tennessee had a lot of high rankings going into that game as well. Now, granted, Texas hadn't really played. They haven't played a whole lot of teams, right? They did play, Michigan? Is Michigan probably the best team they've played so far?
Yeah, I mean, defensively they're solid, but offensively they're right in line with where we are at. Like,
right.
Their offense is just as bad. So, I mean,
I think Texas or Michigan.
Michigan.
Okay, yeah.
I think I would like to see what the stats were last year headed into this game, because I'm sure Texas was pretty high ranked on all that as well, and that's going against a Bama and winning that game as well. So, I think Kellen said it earlier, like on paper this year, they definitely 100% should win this game. And in reality, it shouldn't be close. But it's Red River, it's Oklahoma, Texas. Oklahoma is the best program between the two by far. And we've never shied away from any competition at all. So
all logic is out the window in this matchup.
No, 100%. And I think there's like 3 to 4 rivalry games per year that typically are that way, and we're definitely up there on that. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not scared of the rankings on defense and offensively of where they're at, because one, like you mentioned, they haven't played a whole lot of solid teams, and also I have full confidence in Venables being able to stop that offense and hope that the offense can continue to move the ball for us.
Well, Quinn is going to make mistakes. I don't know. If I was a betting man, I would bet first half he has a fumble forced by our defense and an interception. I could see them struggling, maybe even being down middle of the third quarter, throws in another pick, and they bring Arch in to finish off the game.
Really?
Or if Quinn doesn't get hurt. I don't want to hurt him. I don't want him to get hurt. I'm not going to wish that on anybody. I could see him getting hurt. I would be willing to bet that halfway through the third quarter, we see Arch Manning coming in.
We'll see. I mean, if he gets popped,
and if it's not Arch, we're going to see Jackson Arnold in there. One or the other. I think we see one of those guys.
Yeah, if Quinn gets popped, he's going to have he may be hurt. But
I don't want him to. I'm not wishing that on anybody.
Who would you rather play against? Would you rather play against Arch Manning, or would you rather play against Quinn Ewers? Who would you rather play against?
Oh, Arch Manning, easily.
Yeah, no disrespect to Arch. Probably Arch right now. He's young, like completely different situation. But
Quinn's still a top 10 pick in this next year's draft, in my opinion. So
it's gonna be a great backup.
It's just going to be granted. And do you? Every year, both these teams have generally, not always, but have the week off before the game. So we got extra reps in there for Michael Hawkins, hopefully to be, and maybe to your point, getting some
100% benefits us more than them.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
100% benefits.
How so? Why do you think that?
For one, Hawkins, like you just mentioned, getting the extra week of prep with the receivers, the whole offensive scheme as the number one quarterback, I think that's going to play huge dividends. I think we definitely needed the rest from an injury standpoint on getting some key players back. And I also trust Venables more. Not that I think Venables is better than Sarkisian. I mean, I think they're pretty equal in their respective offense versus defense. But I think Venables, it benefits the defense more, in my opinion, to be able to get some things figured out and, again, disguise some more coverages. So 100%, I think it benefits Oklahoma more than Texas.
Well, as long as we don't have on the offense, it's easy to say turnovers. But then also we talked about this, I think against Tennessee, just not giving a short field. Make Texas have to earn that thing. We got to pick up first downs. We can't sit there and have many, if any, 3 and outs. We don't want to have any of that kind of stuff happen, right? Definitely. Kellen, you got anything to add on what Garrett was talking about? Maybe?
I mean, usually I would not like this bye week because we saw what happened last year. We beat Texas, went on a bye week, and then struggled the next three. Barely won our next game, lost the next two. But I think because of injuries, because of our quarterback situation, I think this year for sure it's very beneficial. Getting, like Gary said, getting some guys healthy. I wouldn't be surprised if Hawkins was a little banged up at the end of that game with a little flip into the end zone. Like, get everybody healthy, watch more film. Because honestly, in my mind, they need to watch film on two different quarterbacks because you just don't know. They need to be prepared because what if a change happens? Like, they need to be prepared for both quarterbacks, but just film in general because it is a great team. So I think this will really help us out going into this game.
How do you think experience will play in this game as far as for the players, the ones that have more experience? Because I think they're going to obviously Texas is going to be more experienced, definitely on offense.
I think that's the biggest advantage they have is experience.
I think our experience beats theirs, but our whole defense basically came back, so they've been in this game at least once, most of them twice at least. Whereas Texas, a lot of those players, especially on defense, are transfers, the guys that start. So they've never played in a game of this magnitude. Offensively for us, though, that's where it's definitely questionable. There's about probably two players I think that'll be playing on offense that are from last year. So
sure. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So experience, you can throw that out the window as soon as these guys start playing. Hopefully that Auburn, that big game, I know it's been a couple weeks, but it will have been a couple weeks when the game plays. But OU showed something in that game that they kept going and they kept fighting, which is pretty cool. And a team, building some camaraderie with each other and trust within one another. And hopefully something like that can definitely help OU. Because I don't think has Texas had any really nervous games yet? This actual team? No. So OU, dadgum. Generally, almost every game. Tennessee, Tulane, Auburn, games that were just a little scary at times, right? So they've been putting in some pressure situations. Just got to keep hold of that football. Being how this is the first year for the Red River Rivalry game to be with two teams in the SEC, does that add any extra splash, any extra excitement, in your opinion?
I think maybe slightly for Oklahoma and Texas fans, just because it's a new kickoff time, if I'm not mistaken. It's a little bit later than typical.
Thank goodness.
It's a little bit more of a, I guess, prime time slot than usual. But I think as a country as a whole, especially other SEC fans, I think it takes away from it because now that we joined the SEC, I see a lot of SEC fans, I guess, belittling, if I'm saying that right, because they don't think we're anything. And so they're not as excited for this game, or they're at least pretending not to be. And it also is unfortunate that you have the number 2 and number 3 team going at it this week with Ohio State and Oregon. So that's unfortunate for a viewership standpoint. But as a whole, I think as an Oklahoma fan, I think it adds a little bit to it just for the pride and the want to have that first one and kind of assert your dominance in the new conference. But
sure. And I know, to your point, we get these message boards and groups and all that, hammering on Oklahoma. We don't deserve to be there. Only reason we're there is because we're tied at the hip with Texas, and Texas was the one they wanted, and all that kind of garbage like that. But I got news for you: all these people are going to be rooting for Oklahoma. They want Oklahoma.
But they also you just think past the last 2 years.
Yes, I agree. You're right.
We would have been fine there. We would completely different. Some changes happened in our organization. And the changes didn't happen there, and the changes they had have worked out well. But just look past the past 2 years. we belong there just as much as them.
100%. 100%. This is not just a 2024 SEC,
Exactly.
and we're going to be out of it. This is the long haul that we're building. And
we have the most wins in college football since World War II. Like,
yes,
we are a respectable program.
We're going to continue.
The SEC is benefiting, and
right.
If this happened a few years ago, it could have been us in the number one spot in the country. Like yes, we're in a tougher spot, but we have a solid unit. Like we can make waves out here. Like I don't know.
Just frustrating.
People just hate Oklahoma for no reason. I don't care.
Frustrating if you care, I guess. Yeah, but I mean, it's just like whatever. I mean, these clowns that are just making some of these stupid accusations and that know nothing about football, regardless, anyway. But to your point, we've been here. We're going to stay here. And, I mean, it's easy for me to sit there and say, but, I mean, it's not just about football. I mean, we got a dominant softball program. We got a pretty decent baseball program. Basketball, we'll see, but it'll be fun to watch, right? So, I mean, it's not just about football, even though football does put the rear ends in the seats and makes the money. But we are here, and it's not just 2024. I mean, we're going to be here for a while. And OU and Texas, honestly, both of us are helping out the SEC. What other game do you think this rivals Auburn, Alabama? Or do you think it's a bigger game? I mean, because it's hard we haven't been in the SEC. That's probably the biggest game, Auburn and Alabama.
Are you talking about the biggest SEC rivalry?
Yeah, SEC game. Yes, that's what I meant.
Well,
SEC.
I mean, I think the only game that comes close to it is Ohio State, Michigan, and that's in the country. So I think we clear any other matchup in the SEC, and I don't think it's even close to. If you think Auburn and Alabama is comparable, it's not. It's just not. Like Auburn's not even close to what Oklahoma or Texas is. That's like what Oklahoma State was in all reality, and on a year-to-year basis, that matchup was nothing. So that's a pointless. I get it's a big rivalry.
The whole country is not watching
a bunch of rednecks and stuff, but like, no, it's not even close.
What do you think? It's more like nowadays Alabama and Georgia. You think that's bigger?
I think that's the only one comparable, but it's only because of recent years. So I think in the grand scheme of things, this is a bigger rivalry. But in recent years, both those teams have been very good and very relevant. But I think that's the only one that's even comparable right now.
Yeah, that's where we need some of these SEC folks to let us know, hey, like, what are your thoughts? Like, you guys have been in the SEC forever, so what are your thoughts? I know it's history, Auburn, Alabama, but what is
realistic? Like, be honest with yourself, because don't be a SEC homer, because the SEC, I mean, I'm not saying this because I think we're going to dominate it, but, like, it's nothing special, like, in all reality. Top to bottom, I think the Big Ten's better than the SEC.
Before Nick Saban, okay, SEC
before the ESPN contract.
You know, yeah, because Nick Saban's the one who I think just turned the SEC around because it forced other teams to get better and get better very quick. What other excitement about this game? What do you look? What are your thoughts? Anything else? What do you think when it comes down to the coaching? You got one offensive coach in Texas. Defensive coach Venables. That's where the chess match is going to be held, I believe.
Well, I mean, I think.
Go ahead.
You also have to realize Zach Allen is in charge of the defense now.
You're right.
So you've got one of the most experienced offensive coordinators in the country in Sarkisian versus, I mean, a rookie, essentially, defensive coordinator who has done phenomenal this year, but I mean, this is a different story. So, but I think head coach to head coach, I think Venables is definitely better at getting his players locked in for games like this. Like, unfortunately, we've always played down to our competition, but I feel like we always have played up to our competition as well. So,
sure. All right, now it's time for predictions. What do you think? How do you see this game, and who's going to win it? I mean, right now, it's 14.5 point favorite is what Texas is against Oklahoma. I think one of the largest in recent memory for sure. And I believe looks like the totals, they believe 51.5 points is total. How do you think it's going to go down?
I've got OU winning 27-14. 28-24.
Dadgum, dude. I have 27. I have OU 27-25.
I
I have
think
OU
it's
31-30.
Ooh. I mean, we all have it close. One score field
Oh
goal,
yeah,
too,
I'm not
if
going to say we're going to
mistaken.
go.
Yeah, like
no shot. I'm going to say we're going to go out there and blow them out of the water.
no,
Like,
no.
I'd love it, but I'm not. I'm not going to.
I do like. I
unrealistic.
think I can see Kellen's point of us having the lead kind of midway third quarter, and we're trying to keep that lead. Like our defense is about the only thing holding us together. Like offense is stalling. They figured us out at halftime, and we are struggling. And I think our defense really comes through per usual this year and even last year. So
Yeah, if we can control that time of possession, dadgum, we got a really good chance. But in order to do that, we got to be able to run the ball. What are you going to say, Kellen?
I mean, I just think this game is huge with the new 12-team playoff format. If we win this game with the strength of our schedule, even if we lose 2 more games, but if we win this game, well, I feel like we can beat anybody. But we could realistically make the playoffs if we win this game.
Yeah.
And even then, if we win out after this game, we'd be fine too. But I know we have a very tough schedule. But like, that's what's exciting about it to me. Bigger than the SEC at this point. Like with the new playoff format, this game could be huge for us down the line.
Alabama show they're not unbeatable. They're beatable for sure. So it just depends on which team shows up. So it's anything can happen on any given college football weekend, and it just a lot of things can happen. But it could be a 1 out of 100. We just got to play that one.
Well, we saw much worse teams beat nearly just as good of teams this week. Anything can happen.
To that, no, I mean, I think the path to the playoff is you have to win 2 of the 3 between Texas, Ole Miss, Bama.
I agree.
And this would be a huge start because, like Dad just mentioned, we saw Bama could lose against a Vandy. Ole Miss has already lost, so they're beatable as well, and kind of gave us the blueprint on how to do it. So, and then I mean, I get LSU is also a big game. I'm not discounting that one, but from a ranking standpoint on where Ole Miss and Bama and Texas are, those are priority.
And the way we saw Bama get beat, their offense put up points. Their defense couldn't stop anybody. It'd be completely opposite. Our offense will put up some points, but our defense would stop that offense, and it wouldn't even have to be that high of a scoring game. So, like, after you see last week, that game feels a lot more doable for us.
No, I totally agree.
But we'll get to that in a couple weeks.
Got a couple questions for you. The first one being, since it's OU Texas we're talking about, what's your biggest memory or biggest couple of memories of OU versus Texas since you can remember?
I think I'd have to go, and this is mainly because I see the highlight like every week, I feel like, but CD Lamb pretty much walking through like 6 Texas defenders where, I mean, he wasn't even really putting any moves on him or full on sprinting. He was just walking past them all, and they just looked at each other waiting to tackle him. But I mean, that was electric because we were dominating that game. I mean, we were in full control per most years, and that was a good one.
Yep. Kellen?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard because there's just so many. For me, just if I go recently, like Caleb Williams coming in and leading the comeback, like as much as it's a bittersweet memory just because of the what could have been after that, but like that was just such a crazy game. But also, like, even I know it's easy to say last year, but like that last drive last year, everything about it, the lineman holding the 2 guys back while Dylan Gabriel gets that last pass off, like it also helps that I was sitting next to a Texas fan who was just nearly in tears by the end of that because he hadn't said a word all game. They finally took the lead, and all of a sudden he's talking, and it didn't matter. It was just that's the way that's Oklahoma, Texas. That's the way those games are supposed to be. and it was just fantastic.
Well, for me, 2000, it was a game where Oklahoma, that was really the game that kind of showed us that, hey, we are here. We're ready to play. We won 63-14, and I believe Texas scored in the first quarter pretty early. And we're just like, oh, boy, here we go. And then all of a sudden it just started hitting. And that just kind of catapulted, like whenever the two programs, in my opinion, shifted was that time. And then up until now, I mean, Texas, honestly, OU's had a 23-year dominance, even though Texas has had a few years. I agree. But the majority of it in the last 23 years has been Oklahoma. You got either Switzer had so many different wins and so many great games, but the Superman play by Roy Williams still, I mean, we won 14-3 against Chris Sims's Texas Longhorns, but that was a pretty cool moment as well, for sure, 100%. And then my final question is that you're going to rank 1 through 5 without knowing what question or what is next. Okay, so I want you to rank your family members. Okay, 1 through 5 family members. Here we go.
What the crap?
Yeah. What about mom? A mom. Yeah. What about mom? Rank that.
Gotta go number 1 on mom.
Yeah, 1.
What about like a grandparent?
2. Gotta go 2.
I'm gonna go 3. Which grandparent? Any of them? All of them?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah,
all of them combined, because I
can't just say grandma or Nana or but whatever.
So
but
what you're saying is you'd have Nana and Papa ranked different, like over one or another, and Grandma ranked above one of them.
No, I was just meaning like if it was all 3 of them combined, that might have to push them to 1. That's 3 people.
What about your siblings?
I'll go safe, and I'll go 5.
I was going to say 2, but screw this guy. 5. Gary brings it down a couple pegs for the others.
What about your Paul?
4 for putting us in this situation.
Yeah, my 5 was already taken, so I'll go.
So you go what? I don't hear you.
Oh, 4, yeah.
And then finally, the last one, your future son-in-law.
What?
Your future son-in-law. You're going to have a son-in-law at some point. So what's your future son-in-law?
What if I have only guys?
Well, then your future daughter-in-law.
I guess I got to go 2, but I don't think I'm going to be a big fan.
Not going to lie, that was one of the dumbest things ever.
I think we've had some dumb things as well. Well, the Foxx Den Sports podcast wants to thank all of our listeners for tuning in, and remember to stay after the fact and listen to where you can find us at. Definitely want to go to YouTube and subscribe and make some comments, especially here. We'll try to get some little 1-minute fun videos out, and some chat areas for some of these groups. SEC groups, Oklahoma Sooner groups, all that kind of stuff for us. But for Kellen and Garrett, I just want to say, reminder to everybody that iron sharpens iron. Please stay safe. Be savage and not average. Remember to join the skulk. And remember, folks, stay thirsty, my friends. See you next week. Boomer! Enjoy.
Thank you for listening to the Foxx Den Sports Podcast. Be sure to subscribe for free to our YouTube channel, Foxx Den Sports. And also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Foxx Den Sports and on Facebook at Foxx Den Sports Podcast. You can also email us at foxdensports@yahoo.com. This has been Foxx Den Sports.